Sohan Choudhury is the co-founder and CEO of Flint, an AI platform for schools. Top private schools in the US as well as international schools across the world use Flint to provide students with one-to-one AI tutoring. Before founding Flint, Sohan built and sold a video chat company and studied computer science at Georgia Tech. TETC. Together, let's welcome Sohan Choudhury.
Of course. Yeah, no, thank you so much for that introduction. And that video was super neat as well. And glad to hear that the panelists had mentioned Flint. I actually didn't know about that. So that's a nice surprise. Yeah, so hey everyone, my name's Sohan. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Flint. And Flint is an AI tutoring platform that has been designed for schools. So I'll show you what that means, and I'll show you also a journey of how our company, we're a relatively young company, we've been around for around 14 months now, has gone from a very small startup to a slightly less small startup now, and how we've kind of focused on AI tutoring as the main use case that AI can be used in the classroom to really help students. So I'll be giving like a quick presentation, just kind of covering our company history and our philosophy of AI in education. And then I will go ahead and show you all a demonstration of Flint and explain how you can also request a free trial and start using the platform if you're an individual teacher, or even use it for your school if that's something you're interested in. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to set up a presentation, and I'm going to go ahead and start that slideshow. Just give me 1 second to get that started. Oh, actually, I think I might need to confirm my sharing settings real quick. So sorry about this. I will quit and rejoin in just 1 second.
Okay.
Yeah, looks like my screen share is now working. If there's any issues, just give me a heads up, let me know. But yeah, like I mentioned, I'm just gonna be walking you all through a brief history of our company, how we've kind of developed this philosophy of what is like the best application of AI within education. And I'll show you a walkthrough of how Flint works and how you can get started as well. So we believe strongly that AI tutoring can enhance teaching and learning at all levels of students, whether they're for elementary school students that are as young as 7 or 8 years old, or even up to college students. But AI in education, as you all have probably realized throughout the course of this conference, is a very broad topic. There's a lot of different applications of it and a lot of different tools out there. And although Flint today is really focused on AI tutoring, so letting students use AI for extra help, letting teachers give their students extra help with AI, that's not actually where we started. We started in a very different area. So this is what Flint looked like a year ago. It's very similar to some other tools like you may have heard, like Magic School. At that time, around May of last year, Flint was focused on letting teachers make activities, worksheets, and quizzes with AI. Basically, our thought was AI, like ChatGPT, is really good at making content, like writing papers or writing emails. What if we let teachers use that to easily make content for their students? And we worked on this product for a few months. But basically, what we realized is we were reinforcing pre-existing problems in education. Because if you think about it, this is how the worksheet experience today looks like when a teacher goes and makes a worksheet, either manually or using AI for their students. They will give the students all the worksheet, and they'll say, hey, class, everyone go ahead and do this worksheet. Maybe the teacher wants to give the students extra practice, or they just want to see how everyone's doing very quickly. Every student, though, will struggle in a different way. Some students might think that the worksheets are really easy and they'll be blitzing forwards and be bored because they'll finish early. Other students, it might be perfect, and other students might feel like they're falling behind because they don't understand the content. Then teachers have to spend a lot of time grading these worksheets. Unless you move this entirely to an AI system and start trusting AI with grading, which we don't fully recommend, it creates a delay for teachers to have to go and read every single submission. And most importantly, students have to wait a long time as well, because students don't get to immediately see how they did. So as a student, you might struggle on a question and find out 2 days later what the right way to have done it was. With Flint, we're trying to change that process entirely using AI. Not to have the AI make the worksheet, but instead to get rid of the worksheet entirely. So with Flint, this is what it looks like, and I'll show you a live demo of this in a moment. The teacher tells the AI, this is what I want to teach. So it says, okay, help my students learn about the causes of climate change, for example. We'll put in like a learning objective. And then the teacher will actually provide the AI with some sort of materials to pull from. Teams here. Yeah,
All
sorry
right.
about that, everyone. And thanks for kind of doing the transition there. Basically, like I was saying, Flint is a tool where instead of using AI to create a worksheet, the teacher is actually telling the AI, this is what I want to teach. And the AI is then learning from the content, any sort of learning objectives the teacher provides to then go and help the students directly. And I think I saw a question in the chat of like, can this be used to teach French language? And yes, Flint can. I'll cover that in just a moment. And I'll show an example of how a French teacher can use this to help their students practice speaking any language. But the high level overview is a teacher can basically put in what they want to teach, maybe give the AI, like a teaching assistant, some materials to pull from, and the AI will then speak directly one-on-one with the student. It can have a verbal conversation in French, Spanish, English, or any other language, or it can be a written conversation. The student can even take pictures of the work and show it to the AI to ask them, hey, how am I doing, or did I get this question right or not? So unlike a worksheet, every student actually benefits from personalized assistance, right? If a student's actually struggling during the assignment, maybe they get the conjugation of a word wrong in French. The AI will actually pause and help them out or correct them before moving on to a more advanced topic. Whereas in a worksheet, they would just get that wrong, maybe find out 2 or 3 days later, oh, this is what I should have improved. So you notice the feedback loop with students is much quicker. And for teachers, not only does the AI summarize exactly this is what happened in your class, just like a really good assistant would, the teacher can also see everything that the students do. So in like a world language class, they can actually go and listen to see or listen to hear what did the students say and how do they pronounce the words. So now I'm going to walk you all through a demo of Flint. I'll start with a quick biology example just to show you how the setup works from the teacher side. Then I'll show you what it looks like once students actually complete an assignment so you can see what the teacher would see. And then I'll wrap up by showing a French example because I know there's a question about that in the chat. And as I'm showing this, feel free to kind of raise your hand or put in other kind of questions in the chat. And once I'm done going through these examples, I'll go ahead and open the chat and I can show other examples that y'all might be curious with as well. So real quick, I'm going to pull up Flint and show you what it looks like to use this tool for like a biology class. Wix. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to switch my tab over to here. So now you should be able to see Flint on my screen. For some reason, if it's not showing up with the screen share, just let me know. Yeah,
we can see it.
Okay, awesome. So to get started as a teacher is really straightforward. If you want to set up your own kind of demo environment, I will share the steps for that at the end of this call. But once you're into Flint, you can just click this button on the top right that says Create Tutor. That's the easiest way to make something yourself. So I'm going to click Create Tutor now, and I'm going to type in what I want to teach. So for example here, I'm going to say that I want to teach my students about this video on YouTube that I'm now screen sharing. This is a video by Crash Course about photosynthesis. It's a really popular video with over 8 million views, and it covers the basics for biology students of how photosynthesis works, so how plants make energy. I'm going to take the link to this video. I'm going to go back into Flint, and this is optional. You can do this without a source if you wanted to. And I'm going to upload that as a resource for the AI to pull from. Then here in tutoring objective, I'm going to say, quiz my students to see if they understand photosynthesis. And I'm going to make sure that the AI has that link of that video to pull from. Basically, what's going to happen now is the AI will pull from that information, and then it will be able to go through and quiz my students dynamically on whether they've actually watched the video and understand photosynthesis. If I want to, I can also set a grade level difficulty of what language level the AI should use. So let's say I'm going to say 10th grade US as the standard for that. Once I click next, Flint will go through and think of some fun activities that it can use to quiz my students on this topic. So it comes up with a few activities, and I'm going to choose this last one, which is a photosynthesis scientist, where the AI will pretend to be, or the student will pretend to be a scientist and collaborate with an AI tutor to understand photosynthesis. And in this conversation, the AI will be pulling from all this information from the video. So I can select this activity and click next. And in a moment, the AI will go ahead and set this up for me. So right now what it's doing is it's setting up the prompt engineering under the hood for the student to go in and complete this assignment. And now in the middle of my screen, I can actually see what that looks like. So as a student, I can test it out. I can say like, yes, I'm ready to start. And the AI will go ahead and have a back and forth conversation with me, and it will actually ask me questions based on what was covered in the video. If I want to, as a teacher, if I want to see what would happen if a student was really struggling, maybe they're at a D level response, I don't have to guess or pretend to be a struggling student. I can click this D here up in the top right corner in terms of the grade preview, and Flint will automatically show me what would happen if a student is getting questions wrong or they're not really understanding the content properly. So as you can see here, when the student says, hey, I don't remember the steps, I don't know, the AI will continue giving them extra help and guide them through the activity instead of saying, oh, too bad, here's the next question. So that's basically how you can use Flint for this kind of personalized learning support for your students. Once you're happy with what you've made, you can customize everything on the left-hand side, but let's say you're happy with it. I can click create, and I can go ahead and get an assignment link that I can then send to my students. So in a moment now, I've created this AI tutor. I can get this link, send it to my students, and then they will be able to go through and interact with it. So right now I'm going to show you what that actually looks like once you have some students interacting with and using this tool. So I'm going to go back out to my school-wide level, and I'm going to find an assignment that I've already made that some of my teammates actually here at the company have gone ahead and made submissions for. So switching gears a little bit, this is a different style of assignment. This is a debate where students are debating against AI about the ethics of AI. So they're saying, is it ethical to use AI for self-driving cars, medicine, therapy, these different applications? I've already made this AI tutor for my students. So in the bottom left-hand side, I can see how they've interacted with it. Here, I can click on one of these submissions. For example, I can click on Z's submission. When I click on it, I can view the full transcript, so I can see exactly what Z said in this conversation. And on the right-hand side, I can go ahead and see exactly what his strengths and areas of improvement were. So the AI will summarize this based on what you put as a learning objective. So if you put that I really want to see how well my students understand the content or how well they do the debate and use ethos, pathos, logos in their argument, the AI will actually highlight whether they did a good job at those specific skills or not. So for example, here I can click on one of these strengths, and Flint will jump and show me exactly where the student showed that strength. And I can click on one of these areas of improvement, and it will jump and show me exactly where the student had that area of improvement. So as a teacher, it's highlighting for you what are the main takeaways and how each of your students did. And on the left-hand side, under tutor analytics, it will summarize that at a class-wide level. So let's say you use this tool and you're giving your students some extra practice for a test that's coming up, right? You're almost using it as a review session with AI. You can then go in right before the test and see, all right, what are some of the areas of improvement that I should cover in my last lecture and the review before the test? It looks like my students could further develop their reasoning on ethical principles. If I click on that, I can now see exactly which students struggled with that. And if I click it, it'll actually highlight which of those students need that extra help. So here I can see that this student was struggling and they told the AI, hey, I'm not really sure about which ethical principles to use. So as a teacher, you can basically set up this AI based on any content you have, whether it be a YouTube video or a curriculum or a PowerPoint presentation. The AI will go and have the conversations with the students, and it'll let you know, hey, here's where the student's struggling, here's where students overall are doing. Now that I've kind of shown you the basics of how Flint works from the teacher setup side and what the teacher can see, I'd love to show you all an example of how it can be used in French, because I know there's a question about that in the chat. So right now I'm going to go back out to Flint. And what I did so far was I was creating a tutor from scratch. Another thing you can do is you can just search for other things things that other teachers have made and shared with our broad community. Flint is an AI platform used by many of the top private schools here in the United States and many of the top international schools based across the world. If you were at the session around the same time yesterday, you may have heard from 2 administrators and teachers, Liz from Harker, which is one of the top private schools here in California, where I'm based, as well as Kevin from SJ Prep, one of the best schools in Pennsylvania. And a lot of the AI tutors that they've designed with their teachers, they've also chosen to share with the broader community. So I'm going to show you in a moment how that works and how you can use those. When you log on to Flint, you can click the search bar up in the middle, and you can type in any topic that you want to teach or learn. So for example, I can say that I want to teach something in French, and I can see these couple examples. I'm going to select this one, where it says that the student will engage in a role play where they have to practice ordering food in a French restaurant. So you can see that the AI will actually speak to them in French. So if I like the look of this, I can click use this template, and I can select to bring this into my school. So I'm going to select my school and click use this template within my school. Now in a moment, I'll be able to start using this assignment that another teacher's created and that I'm essentially borrowing and remixing from them. You can see that the AI is asking me, hey, what do you want to order in this restaurant? And as a student, I can actually click listen and hear what the AI says. So I'm going to do that now.
Bonjour, bienvenue au restaurant.
So I just clicked listen. Not sure if the audio came through, but the AI was actually speaking to me in
It
French.
it came true.
Awesome. And then now I can go back and have a conversation with it. So I can say, and I'm going to say this in very mediocre French, which is the best French I know. I'm going to say something like, je ne sais pas, je m'appelle Sohan et je voudrais un juste orange, s'il vous plaît. So I'm going to say French, I'm going to say a response in kind of okay French. The AI will take a moment. It'll actually transcribe what I say. So as you can see, it does that basically perfectly. And then it'll respond back to me in French. And what it's doing here is it's actually pulling from items from a French menu that this teacher uploaded when they made this AI tutor that I'm now using. So if I go back into the settings of this AI tutor, I can actually see that. I can see that the teacher actually put in this tutoring objective that students should order food from a restaurant, and they uploaded a menu. And if I go back to this conversation at any point, the teacher can go and actually listen to what the student said. So now let's say I'm a teacher looking at Sohan's submission, I can click the listen on not just what the AI said, but on what the student said. So if I click that, I can play back the student's audio. Je ne sais pas, je m'appelle Sohan. So that's where I can kind of see, okay, how did the student pronounce this? How flawless was their speaking? How fluent did it really sound? And once a student actually submits the session, so in this case, I'm going to go and submit the session, I'll probably get a low grade because I only said one thing. The AI will automatically get to work and start analyzing this session for this teacher and the student. So in up to 2 minutes, it takes usually 1 to 2 minutes, the AI will go through, summarize the entire conversation, let me as a student and the teacher in this case know, how did Sohan do? How good was his speaking skills? Was he able to successfully order food in the restaurant? And there'll even be a space for me as the teacher to go and leave some comments. So maybe as a teacher, I also listened to Sohan's pronunciation and I said, hey, you could really improve how you pronounce juste orange, for example. And I can leave that as a comment for the student to view. Before I move on to any other examples, any questions about this so far? Anyone want to raise their hand or put any questions in the chat? I'll quickly check the chat right now. Awesome. Yeah, I see some positive comments, but yeah, if anyone has any questions, feel free to put them in there. Yeah, in the absence of any questions, I'll go ahead and continue with this demo and wrap up with a math example to kind of show you how math teachers can also use this tool. But like I was saying, now that the analytics is wrapped up, the AI does give me a summary as a student. So it says, okay, hey, you did a good job. You introduced yourself and made a polite request, but you can really improve on expanding your vocab and sentence structure, right? This is a very simple conversation. So accordingly, it gave me a pretty low grade in this case of a B, for example. We're actually not too bad in this case. But as a teacher, I can also leave some feedback. So I can say something like, make your pronunciation better if I wanted to. And I can leave that as a comment for the student. So next, I'm going to show you all a quick math example. I'm just going to review the chat as well. I think there's an example for 4th grade math. So what I'll actually start off by showing is a little bit more advanced of an example, something for high school math. And then I'll show an example for 4th grade math to wrap things up, because I think we have the time for it. I also see a question of, does it translate to English? Yes, Flint can translate any of this text to English. Basically, in the settings for this AI tutor, if I go into it, this assignment was purely in French. So the teacher set this to be a French assignment, and they did not set a secondary language. If I went ahead and set a secondary language of English, now the AI can communicate in both French and English with the student. So now if I go in and I say something like, can you translate that for me in English, and send that as a message. Actually, in this case, the AI is still being quite strict because it's being used as an assignment. But if I go ahead and change the settings real quick to make it a little bit more helpful, then it would be able to go through and translate this for me in English. One of the other nice things about Flint that I wasn't able to cover just time-wise today is there is like a universal AI chatbot that any student can use. So any student at any point, if they're really stuck, they can copy this message, they can go into the universal chatbot, and that's located in the main page down here in the bottom right corner. And they can say something, translate this for me into Hindi, for example, or I'll just use English to keep it simple. And the AI will go ahead and give them some hints and translate it for them. And the transcript of what they're doing here is still visible to the school administrator, so they can see what sort of open-ended questions are students asking for this tool. I see a question real quick there about can this tool be used for advanced learners, for university students? Yeah, that's a great question. It definitely can. Harvard actually did this study where they built a system very similar to Flint around a year ago, basically using GPT-4o with this sort of custom content for tutoring. And they saw that it really helped students at the university level in terms of improving the computer science skills. At Flint, we've basically taken what Harvard learned from that study and turned it into an easy product that you can use without having to have Harvard students that are building engineering tools for you. So it can be used at an engineering level, at a university level. One of our clients is actually the UK Ministry of Defense. They have their translators go into different countries, and they use Flint before they go in and do operations to actually learn about how to speak, in that dialect more naturally. So they use it as a language translation tool. Real quick, I want to show you all an example of how Flint works in math, and then I can answer some of the other questions in the chat as well. So what I'm going to jump to right now is an example of a session I already made, and this is going to be for a high school level math assignment. So here in this AI tutor, I can see that it says this is SAT Math Level 2 subject test practice. So it's a very specific test, but you can really put in any worksheet in math and the AI will be able to use that. So it says here that the student will solve challenging SAT math problems and receive detailed explanations for each solution. So this would be like the perfect tool for a student to use if they're practicing for the exam. We can see that the AI actually starts out by saying, hey, welcome to the math challenge. Here's a practice problem. So as a student, I can take that practice problem, I can copy it, and I can use this equation editor down here and actually put that problem back in, maybe make some changes to it, maybe add some equations, use this notation editor, make some changes and show my work and show how I'm working through the problem. Or I can even take a picture of my work. So in this case, I actually clicked the camera button down here that says take a photo. And I held up a notebook that I don't have right now with me, but I held up the notebook and said, hey, is this right? And I can actually see that I showed my work on how I showed the steps. And the AI can see all that. So it can say, hey, your solution's correct. You got this and this right. But let's say this still isn't enough for me as a student, right? I don't understand how to visualize this problem. I can tell the AI that. So I can say, hey, can you graph this for me? And the AI went ahead and said, yeah, I can graph this equation for you. And it's actually able to use a tool under the hood very similar to Wolfram Alpha to do the graphing. So as you can see here now, it's graphed this equation for me. And now I can say, no, I'm good. Next problem. So now as a student, I've done this SAT math problem. I did it on a piece of paper. AI verified that I did it right for me. It helped me visualize it. And now it's moved on to the next problem. And now if I say I'm stuck in this case, it will actually go down and break the steps down for me without fully giving away the answer in this case. So basically, as a student, you can go and use this tool for extra help in a class like math. In terms of how it works for more simple math subjects, I think I might be running a little bit short on time to show that, but one resource I'll share with you all is our use cases page. If you ever go to our website, and the website is flintk12.com, I can share it at the end as well. And then you head over to use cases, you can look at any sort of use cases across different subjects. So if you want to see how you can use it for elementary school students, like fourth grade students, like someone asked, here are some examples, including a math example. So you can see here, the teacher put in a very simple goal that students are just learning how to add and subtract money. So give students, some interest in the topic by asking them what they want to buy, and then give them some math questions. So you can see here that the AI goes through and asks students some simple questions in math and says okay, if you want to buy French fries and milkshake, this is how much it costs. What is the change that you would get from the cashier? That sort of thing. So that's how Flint can be used kind of in those different subject areas as well. I'm going to check the chat real quick to see if there's any other questions. Looks like none so far, so I'll kind of continue wrapping this up and move on to the presentation. But again, if you have any questions, feel free to put it in there at any point. The one kind of final thing I wanted to share is Flint also has image generation, which is something we added recently. So I'm going to see if I can quickly find an example of that to show you all. If not, I will go ahead and just show you some screenshots of how that works. So it looks like I have an example. I'm going to pull it up in this tab here. In this case, the teacher actually created an activity that would be more suitable maybe for middle school students. So they were saying, okay, we are teaching our students evolution. And specifically, we want to teach the students how species evolve in a rainforest due to natural selection. But they wanted to make it more fun and engaging for the students. So they made the activity about Pokemon. So they told the AI, hey, teach the students in evolution, but make it about Pokemon. So the AI made this fun activity where it's telling the student, hey, what do you think will happen if Pikachu evolves in a tropical rainforest? So the student has to say some answers. They say, okay, maybe the skin will be green, it'll blend in better with the rainforest. The AI will ask all these follow-up questions to really test the student's understanding of the topic. And at the very end, for fun, it will actually show the student an image of a fake Pikachu as if it evolved in the rainforest. So Flint can basically take a very broad topic that the teacher puts in and create this fun, engaging activity for the students. I see a question in the chat, so I'll answer that real quick. The question is, does Flint generate by step-by-step a procedure for solving a particular math problem? Yeah, it does. So if I actually go back to that previous math example, I can maybe go to this tab. I'm going to go back to my profile to find my own data. And then I will go and open that, I believe it was this maybe math problem that I was working on, or let's see. Maybe if I open up this math homework assistance. Or actually, sorry, I might have to open up the link from scratch. Give me just 1 second. But basically, yeah, at any point, the student can just ask for the AI to give the steps. So for example, here, the AI, when I said I'm stuck, it's able to actually walk me through the steps. And the teacher can set how helpful the AI should be in doing this. So in some cases, the teacher might say they will change the helpfulness level to change how many steps the AI should give away. So by default, the AI will give students help without giving away the answer. So it might give them the next step, but then say like, hey, you should do the work. But I can change that as a teacher. So I can say like full helpfulness level, the AI should give the full solution, or no helpfulness, the AI should really push the student to do the work on their own. But yeah, unlike many large language model tools, Flint is totally accurate at doing really any level of math up to like multivariable calculus. Yeah. Awesome. So I hope that gives you all kind of a broad overview of how to use Flint. I know we covered a bunch of different examples from French language practice to math to even using it based on like YouTube videos for like a classic science. Real quick, I'm going to go back to my slides and I'm going to actually skip ahead towards the end to kind of give you some like testimonials on how people have been using Flint and my predictions for the future of AI in education, because I figured that's something that this audience might be particularly interested in. So right now I'm going to pull up my slides over screen share. Hopefully that is showing up for you, but what you should see right now is a slide with a couple teacher testimonials. So I know I've shown everything from like a technical aspect of like, here's how to use the tool, here's the cool things you can do with it. You might be wondering, who's actually using this? How is it going? So I can't show you all the data on our end because as you can imagine, a lot of it is very sensitive data. But here's a few testimonials on how teachers have been actively using Flint in their classes. So on the left-hand side, we have a testimonial from a French teacher. Madame Audrey Lemieux has been teaching French for over a decade, many of those years at St. George's School, which is a great private school in Rhode Island here in the United States. And she basically uses Flint to have the AI do speaking assignments with their students. So instead of giving students worksheets and then moving group by group and helping each individual student one-on-one, she actually has the AI help half the class and do the one-on-one speaking activities, and she helps the other students manually. And then halfway through the class, she'll switch. So basically, she's doubled the amount of time she can give each student. One of my favorite quotes from her that's not in here is that one time I asked her, hey, Audrey, does Flint actually save you time? And she said, no, it doesn't, because I just use all that extra time with my students to give them more help and more practice. So I really think the best use case of AI isn't going to be teachers sitting around, the AI is doing all the work for them, but the teacher can do more of what they want to do in class. For Audrey, that's more speaking practice with their students manually, while the AI does a lot of the other practice with the students automatically. And I think I saw a question in the chat about computer science. I personally studied computer science in college, very close to my heart, my favorite subject by far. This testimonial from Mr. Julian Cochran from Durham Academy, which is a great school in North Carolina, highlights how he's been using Flint for coding assignments. So he will actually have students go through, put in coding assignments that they're stuck on or coding problems they're stuck on, and the AI will actually walk them through and give them help with any of those problems. So if I go back to Flint, I can actually show you an example of that. I'm going to show you a very simple kind of middle school level assignment that I made yesterday with the teacher that I was working with. In this case, as the teacher, I put in a very simple command. I just said that students should be able to understand and write for loops in Python. And if I go into a preview of this assignment, you can see that the AI will actually go ahead and give students code snippets, and it will actually go ahead and ask them to write their own code as well. And Flint comes with a built-in code editor so students can put in their code, copy the code the AI is giving, paste it back with some changes, and have like an interactive coding activity. So that's been one of the main ways that Julian's been using the tool. And just to wrap up, one of the final things I wanted to share is an emerging theory that we have as a company of AI, kind of zooming out a little bit, is a lot of the tools we're using today look like this, right? They look like ChatGPT. You give it a prompt, you say like, hey, can you make me a worksheet? Or hey, can you write this email for me? And it spits out a response. But there's really a big missing piece right now that I think we're only starting to solve. So today, this is what AI looks like, right? It's a chat interface you interact with. It's kind of what Flint looks like too. But this on the right-hand side is what AI will look like tomorrow. And you're probably wondering, what is this spinning kind of 3D object? This is a product made by a company that we're not affiliated with, so I'm not, their salesperson or anything. It's a company called Limitless AI. It's like a company still in development. They're like announcing this product in the future. But their idea is to create like a microphone. So this device is actually this small. You wear it on your shirt. It's meant to be a microphone that listens to everything you say throughout the day, listens to all your meetings, all your conversations, and then it knows everything about your life, and then it can give you very specific suggestions. So maybe in the future, a teacher would wear a tool like this, and it would tell this teacher automatically, here's an area that your students are struggling with. So the title up here at the top of the slide is, we feel that our emerging theory is that for AI, right now it's all about completion, ask the AI for something, getting a quick response. In the future, context will be what matters. How well does the AI understand you? Does it know your students and what they're struggling with? At Flint, we're not focused on building a microphone product anytime soon. We're not going to be shipping off these microphones and listening to everything you say. But a lot of our way our platform is structured is it gets better over time. So as you use Flint, the AI will give you some suggestions on, this is what your students are struggling with. Here's an assignment you might want to do as a follow-up. And it starts to help the students in that way too. So it understands which students are visual learners versus which students, might need extra assistance understanding text, for example. And those are the areas that we're just getting started in, but that's really what I'm excited about long term. I know I did a lot of talking and we're running short on time. So the one final thing I wanted to wrap up with, and yeah, that's the name of the product. It's Limitless AI. I think it's just limitless.ai if you want to check it out. Is that, yeah, if you want to find us online, here's the QR code. Our website is flintk12.com. And in the coming weeks, we're actually launching a very easy to use free tier for teachers. Right now, there is an extra step you have to go through where once you go to our website, you have to click request free trial. Next to that, book a demo button. We then follow up with you by setting up a free trial environment for you and your teachers to try out. And in a few weeks, we'll have a way to like one-click sign up for that pretty easily. But if anything I've shared here is interesting to you, feel free to check it out. And in general, as you look at AI tools, I'd encourage you to look at things that are student-facing and encourage you to look at things that take context in to make the AI better over time, not just give you the same experience today as like 6 months from now. So yeah, thank you so much for everyone for having me. And that's all I had for this presentation.